Hello guys, and welcome to this presentation. My name is Dmytro. I'm a software architect at Typico, and over the last multiple years, I built quite a lot of Grafana dashboards and panels, and I read even more built by others. And over this time, I collected some of the principles which should make your Grafana dashboard much more useful for your company, because we build them when we don't have usually time, and it's something that is the end of the project. Okay, we need to build some monitoring, put it on top, but we use them when we don't have time to read them. Usually it happens when you have some incident call or your system is unstable, and you just look through your Grafana or whichever monitoring tool actually you use at your company, and you're trying to make sense of it. So today I will share a few principles that will help you to build more useful Grafana dashboards. If you have any questions as we go, you can interrupt me, we can ask questions, we can have a live discussion today. Okay? So I like to start from this dashboard. Yeah, it's very nice and colorful dashboard with a lot of panels. And it actually is taken from the memorable use cases of the year. It's on Grafana dashboards. Grafana has their blog. They post time to time some interesting dashboards. And I like to start from this dashboard because if you know everything by heart, it might be really useful for you. But if during the incident you just open this dashboard and you need to answer some question, because, okay, is your system stable? Is your functionality is on? And its feature is healthy, it's very hard to know where to look at just from the beginning. So what you face usually in such cases, based on my experience, you face with cognitive overload. Then it leads you to the situation misjudgment. And then whenever you have a situation misjudgment, it leads to poor decision making. Yeah. So today I will share a few principles that should help you with first designing your Grafana dashboards and then to using them as well. The entire design process, it consists from three main parts. So the entire Grafana dashboard design, it's also applicable to any other monitoring systems, but with all the examples you will see here today will be based on Grafana. It consists from three main parts. First part is the panel design, the way how you communicate one single unit of information. Then how do you shape the dashboard design as second stage? How do you combine multiple different small panels to deliver a story? And the dashboard organization and management, how do you combine multiple different stories into one single catalog? You can easily browse through, right? So without further ado, let's jump into panel design. The main goal of panel design is to deliver a view. It's for a single unit of information. That unit can be how CPU is doing. That unit can be like what rate of calls do you have to your system. Anything, but it should not be big. You need to focus on one unit of information and to deliver that. And the first principles, or rather not principles, but what makes Grafana panel poorly designed. Let's have a look at this Grafana panel. So we have actions and point response time, we have some numbers, and we have very nice graphs. Like, is everything clear with this Grafana dashboard to you? It looks like, yeah?
I'm missing legend. What does the y-axis mean? Is this milliseconds?
Honestly, I have no idea. But
there we go.
Yeah, but that's basically all screenshots you will see today, and I will share with you. Those screenshots are from real-life Grafana dashboards that VIC teams designed and used at the company. And yeah, look, what is it a seconds? Is it an hours? I have no idea, honestly. Another question, like, what latency are we talking about? Which percentile? Because latency, you cannot just say, give one number and say, hey, this is my latency, 100 milliseconds. Which percentiles are we talking about? It's quite quantifying value to be delivered. And this Grafana dashboard it's less of an evil, because you look at this dashboard and you clearly understand that you don't know what you are looking at, right? So at least that much is clear. And what you do next, you edit this Grafana dashboard. You try to understand which Prometheus query expression is used, or whatever time series database they are using. Yeah, so you are trying to understand by inspecting these Grafana dashboards, right? It's not that panel itself delivers this information, but there are even so, and you're like, okay, I need to inspect, I need to look inside, right? But there are even worse dashboards, in my opinion. This is dashboard. It says, okay, actions delivery rate, whatever it means. We have some numbers, we have graph, and at the first glance, everything looks fine, right? And you're like, okay, finally I see a nice Grafana dashboard. So we have, like, at the peak after 8, we have what, 6,000 actions delivered per second, right? But then if you are in the context, you're like, wait a moment. Is our system actually handle that load? And you again understand something is fishy over here. I need to dig deeper what it actually means. And you start inspecting the panel, you go to edit, you are trying to make sense of the expression underneath. So to avoid such situations, the first principle I share with you is correctness and clearness. So your Grafana dashboards, first, it should not lie. Your panel, your unit of information, don't lie while you are building Grafana panel. It's clearly, okay, maybe you don't have time, but it should be, and you should not mislead with your panel, right? Let's get back to this actions delivery rate. What is wrong with this panel is that actually, after you inspect, you see that it's rate per 1 minute. But in statistics, every time you say that it's rate of something, usually it means rate per second, right? So every time you need to, if you don't put some default values, it is important to highlight this one is per minute. So next time, when you are reading the panel, you clearly understand what you are looking at, right? And let's go back to this Grafana dashboards, Grafana panel. So the problems were correctly identified at the beginning. So there are two main problems. One is response time. We need to know which percentile are we talking about. And also we need to know, okay, we have a number, but what this number means. It's very bad practice in Grafana to keep the axis with no unit, right? If you edit on Grafana your panel and you look through the unit, it has everything. It has liters. It has quite a lot of different strange stuff, and you also can define your own. So it's very good approach to always name your axis. And also in the title, just put it's 95th quantile. Now everything is clear. You know what you are looking at. Another example, so container CPU usage, 400%. I have an interesting story about this panel. So it was once we were on incident call because of unstable system. I think based on the Grafana panel, it was somewhere 8:15 approximately. And we were looking for a reason why the system was unstable. And we checked multiple microservices in our system. We checked multiple panels. And someone says, hey, look at that. We have a CPU. We just had a CPU almost 400% of usage, right? It's crazy. And we're like, okay, it sounds really interesting. So it cannot be 400%, but basically it's not 400% because in axis, if you put percents, avoid putting anything more than 100. If you look at percents, it should be on the scale from 0 to 100, not over. But when we edit, we inspect, it was not percents, it was CPUs. And now you look at the panel, okay, it's 4 CPUs. It might be fine. Why 4 CPUs should be wrong? nothing wrong with 4 CPUs. So your panel should not mislead. It's very important. The next principle I want to share with you is completeness. Has it ever happened to you, like over the coffee with your colleague after the weekends? Your colleague tells you a story on the ski resort, let's say. And in the middle of the story, it was very, very nice start, but in the middle of the story, colleague says, "Oh no, I have a meeting, I have to go." And he or she left you hanging without actually the complete of the story. It's not a good feeling, and it's the very same with panels. So don't tell half of the story. If you are sharing one unit of information, make it complete, right? Let's get back to this panel. So we have container CPU usage. We see clearly that after 8 we had a peak in CPU usage. It was up to 4 CPUs used. But is it good? Is it bad? This panel does not provide us this information. All we know that it was 4 CPUs. We still don't know if it's something we need to dig deeper, right? So this panel should give you a complete view. And by that, I mean, you add limit, you add request, yeah? If you look at this picture, yeah? You request 4 CPUs per one instance of your deployment, and you have a limit up to 6 CPUs. If you look at this picture, it's clear that, okay, it's maybe close to the top, but it's not over the request. It's not even close to the limit. So now these panels deliver you a complete information about should you dig deeper or not. And the answer was actually in the end, this service was not a problem. Also, it's a nice touch to together with a panel, if something is not clear, you can add on top some additional information. Yeah, just add a description. Especially if you use CPU calculation, just tell what is the source of your calculation. Why did you use this source or another? Also, just add some links to some resources. If you run on Kubernetes, your pods, you do calculation in CPUs, it might be important during the incident or any other time that you need to know, okay, I need to know to have a better understanding how it's calculated. I want to know a bit more deeper. So just include those links at the beginning to your panel to have a complete picture. The next principle is conciseness. Don't repeat yourself on your panel, and be respectful for your future self and for your colleagues, because every additional piece of information on your panel, it takes your time, it takes your attention, right? And let's have a look at this panel. So we have actions delivery rate per 1 minute as a title, and we also have a legend at the bottom. It says actions delivery service, right? But it does not give you any additional information on top. It's fine to remove legend completely. If you have one line, if title tells you everything, it's fine to have to stick without a legend completely. You see on this example, there is quite duplication. You have 95th quantile and title. You also have actions endpoint 95th quantile in the legend. Over here, you have 2 options. You can either remove legend, as we did in previous time, but you also can just split in this information. You can put just in title what are we talking about and which quantile is it to the legend. In this case, it also will allow you to extend this panel to add more quantiles on top. Maybe you want to see median, maybe you want to see 99th percentile, and so on and so forth. Don't repeat yourself on your panels. Just be on point. The next principle is fit for purpose. With every single panel you design, there is a goal you put in front of you. Why do you design this panel, and what exactly information do you want to deliver? And different panel types and different diagrams serves different purpose better. So So if you want to send the right message, pick the right visualization for that. Let's start from this panel. So we have message, end-to-end latency, 95th quintile. We also see there is some description. So far, so good. No legend, no repetition. Pretty nice panel, right? So, but it delivers you end-to-end latency. But you can have also more information on top. If you have on the pipeline, I assume if it's end-to-end latency, you might have few services that work on the message, on the way to end-to-end latency. You can add something different. So it's again message latency per service. You can have a breakdown per service. And it delivers a similar information as the panel on top, but with a bit more details to it. We can go even further and add a pie chart on top of it. So why do you want to have a pie chart? Like if you want to deliver a comparison between two services, if you want to look for your bottleneck, pie charts looks the best. Yeah, you right away you have a percentage on the right on the legend. You see that okay, service 1 processing is the heaviest service, and that may be the one that deserves your attention. That's the one you want to look for optimization at. And if you look at all those three panels, what's interesting is that all three panels use the very same time series behind the panel. Yeah, so it's not that you need to build a separate time series or design separate metrics. All we do, we change the visualization for the panels, and each panel delivers slightly different information. So that's what really important when you design a panel. Just consider what purpose this panel should serve. Yeah, so those are 4 very simple principles. How do you start design of your Grafana dashboard? You started from panel. Correctness, clearness, completeness, conciseness, and fit for purpose. If you follow those, your panels will be much more useful whenever you need your monitoring at hand. But the question is how to test Grafana panel, right? And the suggestion I have, just take away possibility to inspect. You design your panel, right? You think it's awesome. And at the moment when you design the panel, you know everything about it. So it's not that you are starting asking questions yourself. After that, just take a screenshot of the panel and share with your colleague, right? In this way, you just take away possibility to inspect. Ask your colleague, what do you see on the panel? If your colleague cannot understand, just find another colleague, I guess. Or better, try to ask a feedback and improve and test. Maybe still you need to test on another colleague, but that's a different story. But if your colleague understands that your Grafana panel is successful. So that was on panel design. Now, when you have a single unit of information well designed, it's time to tell a story. You need to combine those multiple units of information, multiple panels, into one story. And this story should be told by the dashboard. And the first principle is, again, clearness and conciseness. It's very important that you pick the story and you stay on point. Grafana dashboard, you don't want to have multiple screens of Grafana dashboards because you will get lost. Think about the one Grafana dashboard as one chapter of the story. You want to pick what do you want to tell about. Maybe you want to tell about one feature. Is it healthy or not? You just connect multiple panels to tell that. Maybe you want to tell the story about the health of your Kubernetes cluster or any Kafka cluster, any other resource, right? So just pick what do you want to tell and stay on point with that. Let's have a look at this dashboard. So a very nice touch is to add a legend on top. Because if you look at the panel, at the dashboard, you see multiple different panels. You need to read a lot of different titles. Maybe you need to go deeper into description. So it's a very nice touch. Just add at the top one small description box. This panel tells you about this story, and that is addressed. Then follow what you wrote on the description. With all your panels, just follow the story. Then functional grouping. It's often like it's not a good idea to mix things in any area. In monitoring as well, you don't want to jump between different topics. You, with a grouping, you want to organize your story one by one. For instance, here we have a separate group for messaging, and we have multiple panels that tells you the story. Okay, message size, message latency, everything you want to know about your messaging system, right? Then you have another group, the caching, and everything you want to know about evictions to understand how is going on in your cache, how is it doing. And together it tells you some completer story about your service in general. Within each group, you can use red, use, or 4 golden signals approach. So you know this. So red stands for rate, error, duration. Use stands for utilization, saturation, and I guess errors again. And 4 golden signals, something from Google, right? So within the panel, just follow the standards, and then your story will be well built. Principle of importance. So usually we start reading from top to bottom, from left to right, and it's unlike as in usual stories. You don't want to build up suspense. You start from what is really important. Just take what is really important for your story and put it right on top. So here is an example, like, again, we have some descriptions on top. We have what our dashboard tells about. We also add some troubleshooting. And then all of the groups from top to bottom. We start from global overview, then latency journey, and some gateway stuff, right? So just prioritize and keep your story straight. Let's have another look at our dashboard that we already looked at. You can see that we have a huge green yes. Hopefully it means something good, right? And you can play with the size, you can play with colors to drag your attention. One way to drag attention of a reader of a dashboard is to, from top to bottom, but also to use the size. If you look at this row, even though it's the first one, what really draws your attention is the second row. Why? Because it's bigger. Yeah? So don't be afraid to play with size of your panels. Another trick is just to add bigger legend. Every time you allocate more space to something on the screen, we as humans, we think that it's more important. So if you want to have something drag attention, just make it more brighter, just make it bigger, and then it will do the job. And those are the principles that you need to follow during the design of overall dashboard. And we are approaching the last section, which is dashboard organization. Once you have multiple stories, right, you need to organize them in some catalog. And what is more important, you need to have a convenient way to navigate through the stories and through different levels of the stories. And that's where dashboard organization comes into place. So we have multiple levels what can be monitored. The lowest level is infrastructure. To infrastructure comes low-level infrastructure like Kubernetes node. If you run on EC2 instances, it's monitoring of EC2 instances or whichever cloud provider or on-premise do you use. That's the infrastructure low-level monitoring. You still need to know, because whenever your system is misbehaving, it might be not because of the code, but because of the runtime and resources that used to run your code. It also resource monitoring like Kafka clusters, your Redis instance, your SQL server, anything else that falls into this category. This is the infrastructure level. The next level is actually something that developers and engineers are starting be responsible for. It's execution environment. If you run Java, since it's Java user group, it's your JVM, right, or any other virtual machine you use to run your code. And it's also application business value. So whenever what I see whenever the developers start designing a dashboard, they start from regular things like CPU, memory, what memory used, thread pools and such. But application also, it's really important to design the business value that application provides. It still stays on application level because every single microservice should provide some business value and some business impact. It's very important to measure those as well. And the highest abstraction is business operations. Over here to business operations, it falls KPIs, SLAs, such kind of stuff. And most important is functionality observation. You don't really care much how your microservice is doing if the feature and functionalities overall is still delivering and functioning well. Yes. So, and on the business operations, it is very important to involve your product, your business side as well, to design together what is most important, what is less important for product, what means that one feature or functionality is misbehaving, and to monitor all such kind of stuff. Over here, the boundaries between all those three levels, they are not that strict. They are rather foggy, and it's up to you if for your microservice is heavily relying on some resource, like on Kafka cluster or on the SQL database or anything else, you can include and mix some of the infrastructure stuff into your application level monitoring, because your application is database intensive or some such kind of stuff. And those in the bottom, those are really generic and parameterized. So low-level infrastructure, resource, execution environment. Trust me, your JVM is not different from any other JVM other team is running, right? So you don't want to design to include and design the execution environment in JVM to every single dashboard you have allocated to your service. It's not the right thing to do because it requires a lot of maintenance. You don't want to invest there. Second, you're not going to design the very nice dashboard for every single service. So for those, you just use generic dashboards. You utilize variables to switch between your deployment in Grafana, but just design one dashboard to monitor Kafka, one dashboard to monitor JVM, and just share it with all your development teams and reuse them. But this top one is really interesting. So it's really custom and fine-tuned. Everything that starts from the business value of your application, that's the place where you can allow your creativity to grow. Yeah, because business value between different services, between different applications, every single application should deliver different business value. How do you monitor your functionality, what it means, if it's healthy or not? It's really custom and fine-tuned. So you need invest a lot to designing of very dedicated dashboards from the top 6 parts. And a bit of responsibility levels. So infrastructure level is usually it's infra and platform is responsible to design and to share with developers. The application level usually is dev and team responsibility, and the business operations is the best if it's responsibility of entire department together with your product, together with your business to define what makes sense to monitor and how to tell the story. Yeah, let's build useful dashboards. That's it from me for today. Any questions?
Have you tried using Claude Code maybe to help you with designing dashboards?
No, like generative AI is very good to design text and images and a bit videos at the moment. Not that good with designing dashboards, but in Grafana Lab, I think they presented it last year. They are working on the AI agents to build your dashboards. And within the Grafana Lab, you can just open the AI helper and ask, hey, AI, please build me a panel to monitor, I don't know, rate or whatever. It will build. The demo I've seen yet, they are not too nice, honestly speaking, but yes, you can automate it with that. I didn't try that part yet. Yep.
What are you using for notifications? So I know that Prometheus has a layer where you can send notifications, and Grafana has that, I think, as well.
So I think from version 8, Grafana. For me, the alerting and notifications always closer to the source. Closer to source you are, faster you will get it. So we use Prometheus Alert Manager for alerting. Grafana also has its own alert system. I think from version 8 they introduced it. Now it was a few years ago. And if you use multiple different sources, like Prometheus, we have Victoria Matrix, maybe some other time series or integrations, Datadog, and you want to have a centralized place, then Grafana also can be such place.
Yeah, you mentioned that some of your data is coming from Prometheus. Do you have any other data sources, in particular for the business level, like web analytics, for instance?
Yeah, we don't have them well integrated to Grafana yet. So we mostly have Prometheus, Victoria Matrix, our main source for technical monitoring. Yeah, so there is also approach to integrate Grafana with Grafana supports a lot of different data sources. Athena is one of those. So you can build all the reports, store them in S3 bucket, and then access them through Athena. We also have one dashboard that build based on SQL database because it's very special case. But yeah, for monitoring and time series, yeah, it's Prometheus, Victoria Matrix. That's what we use.
Then for the KPIs and all the business level stuff, would you recommend using a whole different technology for that? Sometimes it's always available by, for instance, web analytics. So would you rather recommend having all in one tool, even for other personas in the department? It's not just developers or DevOps, I imagine, maybe not even technical people. Yeah,
so we do have designed Grafana dashboards that used by not technical people, that used by business included, and we define KPIs. That's why on this business operations level, it's the highest abstraction of the monitoring. I highly recommend to have a combined team from business, product, tech, and define together. And together you will be, depends on what do you want to see, what you set as KPIs. One example as KPIs is latency. It's very obvious KPI. It's very easy to monitor on the backend side. But if some of KPIs, it's not possible to monitor on backend side, then web analytics also might be option. But the most important, I would not recommend that business defined monitoring and metrics by themselves with tools they know, and tech defined by themselves with tools they know. It's the best value if you design it together, and together you find the best place where do you take this information from. Yep. Any other questions? Yes?
So you said from the version 8 it changes that Prometheus is not necessarily needed anymore, and one could directly integrate Java Flight Recorder events into Grafana. Is it right?
I don't know what Java Flight Recorder events is, to be honest.
It's it's an API that you can integrate sensors throughout your code directly that fires up events when something happens that you want to monitor. So that could be a source of your knowledge, what's going on directly inside your code.
Okay.
So that's quite
yeah, I'm not sure if you can integrate Grafana directly with alerts that you just mentioned. Usually you have multiple layers. You start from the monitoring layer, and if there is alert, you can wait 15 seconds if you really need a human intervention, right? Usually it's someone on call, wait for a phone, and then it takes another 5 or 10 minutes to get to the laptop to look at it, right? And monitoring, usually you scrape the metrics every 15 seconds, right? And then if you see that something goes wrong, you can sacrifice, like in my experience, it's not something that you have to have as instance. That's why we don't use alerting directly from the Java, but we rather build it on top of monitoring layer, right? Decoupled from the business code. But if you have a business need to have it coupled with the business code, potentially you can. I cannot answer this question honestly. Yeah, but Grafana supports a lot of different options for sources of alerts as well. Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Good. Then thanks a lot for your attention and thanks a lot for coming.